Hi, in this lab, we are looking at monster genetics. So, for before we begin, I just want to give you a heads up that for part one and part three of this lab, you will need a coin. So, you're going to need a coin, and each coin flip is going to represent a potential gene, a letter that your monster is going to have. So, in the first part, you're going to be looking at and determining the genotypes for your female monster. And in that, you will flip a coin once for one allele, allele one, and then again for allele two. If you flip a heads, that means it is the dominant allele. So heads would be this, and tails would be this. So in our example, from there you'll write out the genotype and then the phenotype. So let's look at our example because it can be a little kind of weird to talk about. So we're looking at monster eyes here. That's the trait. We have the allele for two little eyes, capital E, and one large I, lowercase e. And if we're thinking about Mendelian genetics, you must have two of the lowercase letter to show this particular trait. If there's even one of this capital letter, it will cover up the other allele. So if I flip a coin twice, I get one heads, I would write capital E. And then I get one tail, that would be lowercase e. This would give the genotype capital E, lowercase e, and that would indicate two small i's. How do I know that? Because there's at least one of these capital alleles. So you're going to go through and you're going to fill in your chart based on your coin flips. So for every trait, eye color, you need to flip the coin twice. You need to have one coin flip for each of the alleles, and you need two alleles, and then you'll write down the phenotype. So in our first example here, we got capital E, lowercase e. In my next example, say we get two tails. Tail is the lowercase letter, so that would be tails, tails. Heads is the capital, and that would indicate me that the eye color is white. Okay, and we already said this is two small eyes. Next up, we would continue this. Say we got two heads in a row, that would be capital G, and that would give green skin color for our monster. And we would continue to fill in this chart. Please be aware that there is an example of incomplete dominance when it comes to tail shape and co-dominance when it comes to tail color. In the second part of the procedure, you're no longer flipping coins, you're making an inference based on information in the chart about the male monster. Okay, and then we're going to make some monster babies, some hypothetical monster babies, and we're going to do that in two different ways. But in terms of looking at the male monster, we have genotype lowercase e, lowercase e. So we can go back up here and we can see that if there's two lowercase e's, that's a recessive trait, there'll be one large I. And in order to have white eyes, there are actually two different ways. So you can pick, or only one way, excuse me. So that would be lowercase r. And then green skin color. Recall that green is dominant over blue. So really you could have capital G, lowercase g, or capital G. Teeth, if there are round teeth, this is lower. Well, I can't go through this whole thing with you, but hopefully you're getting the gist of this. And then this is the fun part. Based on the letters, the genotype from the male monster and the genotype from the female monster, you're going to complete Punnett squares. And you're going to do that on a separate sheet of paper. I don't need to see your Punnett square, but you need to use your Punnett square to answer the question about the babies and what percent of the babies could have a particular trait. So you would do a Punnett square for eye color based on the genes of the genotypes of the parents, the male and female genotypes. You do a Punnett square, and then you would look at the results of the Punnett square and identify a percentage. Okay. In this last part, this is the fun part where you get to make a monster baby. So in this example, in this part 3, we're going to follow along with the example here. You would flip a coin for the female monster. And if you got, for instance, in this case, tails, that would be a lowercase e. And then you flip again for the male, and you get a lowercase e. This would give the baby monster lowercase e genotype, and this baby monster would have one large eye. You're going to do the same thing for all of the traits here. So you're flipping a coin for the female, flipping a coin for the male, putting those letters together for the baby, and then identifying that baby monster's phenotype. So how does that baby monster look? And then you look at all the phenotypes and you draw your baby monster. I know a lot of you like to use Canvas. I've seen a lot of you do amazing things on Canvas. So feel free to exhibit those tools that you have in your toolbox. Or when in doubt, you can always draw it on paper and then use CamScan to scan it. So this assignment is actually not going to be due until, it's not due immediately, but we'll just see Schoology for your particular due dates, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Thanks.